Morning and welcome. Thanks for joining this webinar. Today we'll look at the top considerations for architecting a hybrid cloud platform. So what we will probably look at today is we will review the current data center challenges. Then we'll discuss what the current technology trends are. We'll follow up with a brief overview of what the hybrid cloud and multi-cloud is and the benefits. Then we can dive into the top considerations with the hybrid cloud, using a few examples to showcase some solutions that are hybrid cloud. And then we'll just finish up with how Ultima can help you with this journey, okay? So just a little intro about myself. I'm Richard Choi. I am the data center pre-sales head. My role is to help customers understand challenges and to offer advice around the data center networking area. My remit is also to understand market trends, work closely with key vendors in the space, and build up Ultima service and solution offerings. I've been working in consulting for over 13 years now at Ultima across various roles. I think I first started as a technical consultant, doing the design and implementation work for things like server virtualization, VDI, storage, backup, and DR, just to name a few. Then I became a solutions architect, delivering those larger multi-stream projects, providing governance around these more complex ones. And then also advising enterprises with strategic planning and road mapping. Then I moved into a practice lead role, developing the modern data center practice within Ultima, and leading really these 30 consultant and architect people and services before moving into this new exciting area of pre-sales. So over the years, I've seen many technologies and changes, many technologies rise and fall, but the one thing that remains a constant is the experience that has been built up within Ultima and the trusted advice that we've given to our customers to the many changing business challenges we face together. Here are some of the challenges we've seen over the last 24 months. So needless, should I say, the global pandemic has really caused quite an upstir, and there's really uncertainty in spend. Whilst businesses were initially placed into like a survival mode. So this is like, initially when pandemic started, maybe 2 years ago, everyone was all about focusing on enabling the mobile or remote workforce. We've seen in the last 12 months this kind of shift now slowly towards a growth mode where operational resiliency and security seems to be back on the main agenda. So with this challenge really, with the increased demands from the remote workers and initial ramping up of trade and moving into larger consumption because of the remote workers, the challenge is about revisiting some of these temporary solutions, which was the result of rapid expansion to support the mass workforce from home. But of course, now many of these are now part of the permanent solution, which either needs to be reconfigured to meet, I don't know, security standards, or things weren't properly done just to enable the workforce. So all that needs to be kind of revisited, and we're seeing customers having that challenge of should they really make some ad hoc changes to their increased environment, or does it really require a complete rethink or re-architecture to take them to the next era of the data center. So yeah, definitely created a few challenges around the global pandemic. Cybersecurity threats and attacks have been increasing according to government statistics. 4 in 10 businesses have reported in the UK having some form of cybersecurity breach or attacks in the last 12 months. So these breaches are causing quite the interruptions within businesses, and possibly some of this is down to the reluctance to spend and invest in security projects and keeping things secured, which has led to some of the exposure. So that's another challenge. Technical debt is another one where actually even before the pandemic, many customers faced as well. This is really about where some companies are wanting to modernize and transform. However, due to some short-sighted decisions in designing or shortcuts in implementing infrastructure, it's kind of led to additional unnecessary complexity. It's really delaying some of the ambitions of migrating to cloud at the moment. So that technical depth thing is quite difficult to get out of at the moment. Yep, system downtime is another real pain point. Our customers have issues with existing data center solutions due to perhaps poor management tooling. So they lack that visibility and understanding of their environment, or what's going on there. There's really poor documentation. And we've also seen whenever skilled staff moves on, proper replacements doesn't really come in place, and that's kind of leaving a skills gap in the support team. And another common one is where customers are trying to sweat their assets beyond that 5-year remit. That's kind of being even more on the rise, and that's kind of leading to some more outages from the aging solution, where things have passed the end of support and kind of beyond that extended support status. So these solutions are kind of leaving customers in a unsupportable state, and creating some of these outages. Other major risks and challenges are having proper backup and DR, so which is definitely a growing area with our customer base. They are reporting frequent challenges due to tight budgets and limited resources. Backups and DRs are often incomplete and not really meeting RPO RTOs. And it's always been a bit of a struggle because struggling to get the budgets required for backup DR is difficult, because many businesses see it as an insurance policy. It doesn't really add to any daily productivity or anything like that. But without it, it's leaving customers that gap. And with ransomware being on the rise, it's really a high risk area. We're also seeing many of our customers, both SMB and enterprise, really struggle with legacy backups and legacy DR solutions, which is really resulting in too much operational effort being used in this, and additional costs for renewals on something that's quite legacy, really. So it's very difficult to do stuff with that kind of thing, leaving more risks. And then lastly, another common data center challenge is in tactical tech refreshers and existing solutions which have really poor scalability points. It's left companies having to implement quick fixes to solve capacity issues, and in turn this leads to siloed resources and increased management effort. So we see the challenge here is like people are reluctant to complete these tech refreshers, so they're being held off as these forklift upgrades are being evaluated against accelerated plans to the cloud. So these are kind of common challenges we see in the data center space. With the many challenges faced, we are seeing these technology trends in the data center space. So digital transformation is top of the agenda for many businesses, and this is like where they're trying to adapt to new innovative tools or technologies to gain that competitive advantage, and focusing on the initiatives to analyze the data that they have to gain more insights so they can drive better real-time decision making. So that's hot on the agenda as a trend. Cybersecurity also is really up there, either the first, if not the second place, where businesses are focusing on cybersecurity and cyber resiliency plans and strategy around this. So we see a huge interest in MDR solutions. So this area is really about having the right proactive measures to gain visibility against these security threats in such a MDR solution, and failing that, really a cyber resiliency recovery strategy is really the only last line of defense. Another trend that we've definitely seen is a remote workspace. So this continues to be about improving user experience, increasing productivity. We've seen the uptake of more SaaS offerings, so moving to Office 365, for example, and dealing with that, and extending the remote desktop solutions. And we've seen the designs really change over the course of the last 2 years, where it used to be remote desktops were just on premise, but now it's really shifted to more of a hybrid scenario where a remote desktop solution is being architected to work in both on-prem and the cloud. So the management controlling systems may be in the cloud, but the workloads for remote desktops can be both on-prem and burst in the cloud with the same kind of experience. So cloud usage has also accelerated in many cases, maybe due to hardware lead times being a real constraint now for these new data center projects. There's also more focus on cloud native application development and automation being utilized for both private and public cloud. And lastly, we've definitely seen more ESG sustainability objectives being added to the agenda. So any new projects that we're seeing, it's asking the, I suppose, requirement to demonstrate how solutions, how your supply chain, how the approaches align with these ESG goals as well. So these are the current trends that we're seeing. So the data center strategy is really evolving. And I believe the future really is about having that hybrid multi-cloud architecture. So ultimately, we have that vision in this data center space where it's really across three key areas. One is about architecting a hybrid cloud platform, which is a standardized solution that allows placement and movement of applications and data to consume resources between private and public cloud. This also needs to be providing a seamless cloud network, extending the boundaries from edge data center to the public cloud. Yeah, adopting new technologies such as software-defined networking that can ensure network access links all the components together, but also allows you the network controls regardless of where your workload is. So this challenge solves enabling more remote workers, reduction of your technical debt, and improves that scalability and access to resources as well. The second pillar is all about management. So having the right deployment of cloud operations management tooling or as a service kind of management solution is a high priority. This is to gain efficiently gain, visibility and insights across the components from edge data center to public cloud. This should also allow businesses to make more informed decisions. For example, understanding your cost forecasting and your cost to serve across your IT spend will allow you to select the most effective way to place new services, and will be able to answer things like how long will your budget last for a given temporary project, for example. So also the visibility of security compliance risks and current status is another area that is at the top of the agenda. And subscribing to these managed services like MDR service could also be an answer, which will increase your uptime. So the challenge this kind of solves is reducing that unplanned outages, lowering the operational effort, and reducing your security risks. Now, the last area really is about reducing risks around that backup, DR, and storage. So yeah, with more modern techniques to revolutionize your backups in an as a service kind of way, you can reduce your cost, reduce your risk pain points. So the kind of challenge solved here is like gaining that resilient DR, protection against ransomware with that air-gapped backup data being securely protected, and improving the storage efficiencies on your capacity usage. So here's some key benefits, I guess, on architecting a hybrid multi-cloud strategy. The approach really increases your scalability and agility by using your private cloud for your steady state predictable workloads, whilst bursting and having that ability to burst in the cloud for that temporary expansion of new projects. This allows you to meet your high service demands. Also, the approach allows you to deliver faster and ultimately has improves the user experience. From a cost perspective, the hybrid cloud approach also lowers your total cost of ownership. This is partly achieved by changing that consumption, changing to a consumption model. And when we compare the old way of, high capex forklift upgrades that occurred every 3 to 5 years, so paying for what you consume is really a trend now. You have it in the public cloud. It's also delivered now for on-prem vendors like HP have GreenLake. They allow you to consume the same enterprise technology that's delivered to your on-premise data center, but it's delivered in a way that's fully managed and on a consumption model. Dell also has a similar program called Apex as well. So more and more of them are adapting to that change, which kind of leaves you with a more efficient way of paying for this consumption services, both for private and public cloud. So another really good point about how hybrid cloud can reduce your cost is in the DR area as well. So when compared to conventional DR approaches, having to pay for 2 sets of hardware, maintain 2 data centers, and getting that DR replication up and running is quite costly. So more and more vendors are now offering that DR as a service where you don't have to procure all the hardware. Again, it's churned out as a service consumption model, protecting all your assets in your main data center. And the just last one about cost as well is having that hybrid cloud environment can help you avoid costly mistakes in rushing into cloud migration. So you can take your time to plan and migrate to cloud properly. Concerning effort is kind of reduced with proper management tooling and automation practices across your private cloud and public cloud. So this approach also lowers the time to value with the use of standardized practices, automation deployment methods that gains you more productivity. And lastly, whilst pursuing a well-architected hybrid cloud solution, this will reduce downtime, the unplanned outages. Having a defined multi-cloud strategy also prevents that vendor lock-in as well, giving you more choice to deploy resilient services across all your clouds, and also proactively using technologies to mitigate risks like microsegmentation, MDR, just to name a few. Also, by providing the modern backup and DR solutions as part of your cyber resiliency strategy, this allows you to recover even if your security breach has occurred. So yeah, reduces your risk, the key benefits. So let's delve into the considerations for creating a hybrid multi-cloud platform. So maybe if I just recap on the private cloud, and really the private cloud is dedicated hardware. It's quite good for fully customized setups that you want. You can place this into any location of your choice and implement your choice of security, both logical and physical practices against it. This is well suited for having more controls over cost and management. So you can dictate the compliance and security terms, and it's kind of built more for the legacy enterprise applications. Public cloud is a shared infrastructure, as we know. So yeah, you have to accept the fact that it's a shared infrastructure, it's pay as you go, and it's highly elastic. A lot of good automation practices built into public cloud, and many services being defined so that access to new technologies is definitely an advantage. So this kind of creates that, it's great for startups where you've got the fast, easy setup, that burst capability that we talked about, and perhaps the application web development work, and also constructing backup and DR using parts of public cloud are very good use cases for this. But we also know that having access to both deployment models whilst having the ability to manage both under a single console would be ideal. So that's a common consideration to have when you're considering hybrid cloud. The multi-cloud approach is when you use services from more than 2 public cloud providers. So why would customers adopt to this approach? You can kind of talk about 3 reasons really, and there are considerations that you may have as well on why you want to pursue a hybrid multi-cloud platform. So the first one is about expanding your reach. In some cases, you may want to reduce your latency and have a need to place your workload or data points closest to your customer or your client. In this scenario, the service you may want to utilize from one particular cloud vendor may not have a presence in a particular city that is close to your customer base. Hence, splitting the service between different cloud providers can provide you with that reach you need. Another area reason could be is creating a highly available application service on multiple clouds, and by architecting this service, to run provides the service resiliency across different public cloud vendors when there is a major outage, and there are outages. They run very well, I must add, in public cloud, but sometimes when you have a major outage in a particular public cloud, your service is down. So by spanning across different public clouds, it's a little bit better. And here are just a few relatively recent headlines. So you've had one recently in last year about Google and Azure and AWS. And these things do happen because after all, public cloud is still a data center with hardware that is run by a technical team, so subject to many of the similar failures that you may experience. And the key really is about architecting the right kind of services in a highly available way. And the last reason really for the multi-cloud really is about that split workload. So splitting the workload makes sense when you want best of breed selection. In some cases, your web developers may want to use AWS because in their eyes, developing for web apps, mobile apps, and things like that is best in AWS, right? Whilst our IT support teams, we're more accustomed to Microsoft products. So, using Office 365 and Azure may be, the clear choice for us. So we might want to place things in Azure. And then lastly, you might get the digital transformation kind of reason where customers may want to use the Google, GCP, big data analytics and AI because they see that as the cutting edge. So it kind of gives you best of breed is another reason for splitting your workloads across the multi-cloud. Also, there's another scenario that's kind of born from mergers and acquisitions. You might have no choice where you have 2 companies merging together with 2 different public cloud strategies. You may then need to consider how you manage and support these public clouds as well. So a key consideration whilst we're talking about all the private cloud and public cloud is about cloud operations and management. What tools do you have in running all these things? Because many customers have on-premise hardware, so they've already got that, and many customers already use cloud services, but they don't have the capability to run standard operations and management across the private and public cloud areas. So what is missing is the tooling or the management service that allows you to have gains access to controls, management, monitoring, health status, compliance, and operations across everything. I suppose first described in the NIST cloud characteristics. So these 5 characteristics are things that you'd probably want to think about when you're kind of spanning out and adopting that cloud first approach. And that cloud first approach can involve both private cloud and public cloud. So so these are essential characteristics that you will need to see that you have access to. And of course, the responsibility model is another consideration. You need to really understand and see what you're getting yourself into. And often this is sometimes forgotten or misunderstood. I can name maybe an example of like a common misconception, mainly for the smaller SMB customers, where they see software as a service is a good, way of transitioning to the cloud, which I can kind of agree to with Office 365. But what they kind of forget is that whilst you don't have to maybe manage your own SharePoint or Exchange environment anymore, so the cloud provider manages all that light blue up to software as a service, the data and access is still a responsibility that you will have to manage. And many forget that that data, if left by default, it isn't really protected. It's kind of protected in a HA scenario, but it's not protected from a backup perspective. So if someone was to delete all the emails, there is, nothing out of the box straight away without you subscribing and, to protect the data there. So you really want to think about that shared responsibility model. What are you looking to leverage from the provider, and what are you willing to keep in-house, I guess? And for the private cloud as well, it's still sort of relevant, because you can buy all your private cloud tin. Doesn't mean you have to manage the whole lot. You can use things like, or you can use Ultima Managed Services to manage all your private cloud assets. Again, delivering you that same experience up to, you just manage your own data, for example. And a lot of these other hardware vendors also provide managed services up to the tin as well. So really picking the right choice and the responsible model is a key consideration. Yeah, you may want to rethink your cloud strategy as well, because for many years I've heard cloud strategy is all about running into the cloud, how you change everything, and many cloud migrations do fail. In a recent report I read from Cloud Security Alliance, it suggests that 90% of CIOs have experienced failed or disrupted data migrations in the cloud, mostly due to complexity of moving from on-premises environment to the cloud. So some of the reasons for this is like, and you want to consider how you mitigate this, is definitely lack of gaining that C-level buy-in is essential. Gaining that is essential. This is because without that consensus and buy-in from the stakeholders, it can often lead to cloud projects failing because, the poor communication and misunderstood goals. Therefore, there should be a clear migration communication strategy. What is it you want to achieve, and making sure that is aligned across the business as well. And obviously, once you get the buy-in, it unlocks the appropriate funding to make these things a reality. Another thing that we see from many of our projects and lessons learned is really lack of planning. And some of this is during projects, rushing into migration. We think we can do it, but some unforeseen issues such as migrated applications having poor performance. In some cases, people migrate back as well. So really the key around here is like to really understand what the performance is like, what is the security and governance required for your service as well, proper planning, proof of concept is a good mitigation strategy for this and a key consideration. And a lot of lack of planning really also plays into people really thinking about building the cloud for today and not for the future. So whilst it's important to understand what you need for today, it is also critical to understand what the limitations of the design decisions you make today doesn't impede in the future. And for that, we have an assessment and some work packages for cloud landing zones that can help you understand that and create that scalable cloud architecture that you might need. Another area is also ambitious targets. Starting from zero and trying to achieve 90% or more cloud migration is never a good idea without adopting, it's never a good idea when you're adopting anything new, right? Rushing into considering transition and current services to cloud native way only means that you're just taking that lift and shift approach. And that leads to bringing all the same legacy problems into the cloud, creating those inefficiencies and adding to your cloud costs. And again, not meeting the perceived value and goals that you could have had. So really, proper planning and setting achievable targets is a key consideration here. Last but not least is really the skills area as well. So in a lot of ways, public cloud services have been architected to be easy to use, but that doesn't mean that the technical staff can really hit the ground running with this. The lack of skills and understanding is often a reason for cloud projects to be delayed. And this is due to lack of understanding, which is causing delays to design decisions, and some other areas as operational issues as well. So in many cases, this can lead to data not being protected appropriately or the right level of security being implemented. So again, it's a key area to keep the skills up and training as well. So what I'm saying here really is a better approach to complement the cloud strategy is to consider incorporating a modern private cloud solution, which has the same consumption model and innovation baked into as a service. This will allow you to properly create a plan and evaluate how you migrate and what you want to migrate to the cloud. So whilst we're considering the hybrid cloud as well, the hybrid cloud operating model is a key consideration. That is, we find that many customers are adopting to this, and it can be summarized with the 4 Ps, I guess. This is having a platform, a place for your data center hosting, the people with the right processes to deliver the end-to-end services you need to plan, design, deploy, migrate, and manage the entire solution. It's also important for your service provider to give you the continuous improvement plans, roadmap sessions, service deployment, development, and optimization to continuously add value to the service, right? So when I talk about these 4 Ps here, the platform really is about having a self-service portal, a console that allows you access into the platform that also has orchestration and an automation engine that can be used for both physical servers, virtual machines, containers for both private cloud and public cloud. There should also be open APIs for developers to interface into with a wide ecosystem of integration points with systems that you might want to bring in and you might want to integrate in, such as logging, monitoring, service management, etc. The place really is about selecting the right place for your data center hosting, which should also provide you a selection of secured locations, choice of WAN and connections. Should be close to the cloud, I guess, as well, and giving you that wide bandwidth, resilient connections out to other locations and the cloud, whilst providing a eco-friendly approach to power and cooling. That's another consideration for the place that you want to choose. And last but not least is really about the people. The people should really provide you, access to the subject matter experts for designing your environment. So I'm talking about architects and consultants, services to help you bridge any technical gaps and drive new projects. Whilst the managed services team offers 24/7 support coverage and a robust processes for operating and managing service. This provides a comprehensive outlook on the hybrid cloud model for operations. Let's have a quick look at a few examples on implementing some of these hybrid cloud solutions that I've talked about. This example is really about a private cloud or IaaS platform that spans from on-prem to the public cloud, providing you the ability to place VMs and containers on either location. So starting on the left, what you have is the data center or your edge on-prem location. In the solution, really, the platform is using appliance solutions such as VxRail, VxRail, or you can even use VMware Cloud on EMC. So the VMware Cloud on EMC, Dell EMC, is a full as-a-service offering. It's quite interesting because it kind of delivers the full infrastructure to your data center. And HP have a similar approach as well, called HP GreenLake. So it's really bringing the cloud to your doorstep. So this offering gives you as a OpEx model. So from a central portal, you can order from portal, a bit like giving you that cloud experience. So you define the kind of workloads that you want to run on a given platform, and the kit is kind of delivered, installed, and made operational at the site of your own choosing. Throughout the lifetime of the contract, a managed service supports the entire break fix, applying the patches, and advising you about your solution as well. So it can give you that, IaaS as a service kind of responsibility, shared responsibility model that we talked about that you're used to in the public cloud. So it's quite interesting with the VMware Cloud on Dell EMC. The hardware is available in an appliance node configuration, so just like hyper-converged nodes, or it can be a complete rack configuration that includes servers, storage, switches, SD-WAN solution, and then UPS. So all dropped off, metered usage, and all the rest of it. This kind of creates you your software-defined data center through a solution that is including that vSphere, vSAN, and SX as well. So the whole reference architecture, if you like, is that VMware Cloud Foundation. Now with Tanzu, it also offers you both comprehensive virtual machines as well as containers on one platform. Now, this reference architecture of services also extends from on-prem all the way to the public cloud. So on the right here, in this case, we have Azure, which is the public cloud services. And there's one particular service called Azure VMware Solutions, AVS. This is essentially the same VCF platform built from 3 nodes and bigger. It creates your VMware cluster directly in the Azure cloud, which also gives you very close access to those 6,000 plus Azure services in the public cloud. So the reason why this is a true IaaS hybrid cloud offering is that the VMs can be moved from private to public cloud. The network address wouldn't need to change. The security attributes wrapping around these virtual machines would be consistent between the private and public cloud. So I'll give you examples, like if you've got a bunch of virtual machines where you micro-segmented in your organization, so these systems cannot talk to these systems, maybe there's some security firewall policies around that. Those can be honored both in private cloud and public cloud. The same thing with networking as well. The network constructs that you have, maybe with like subnetting and networks in private cloud, they can be stretched across the layer 3 network. So it kind of gives you that layer 2 stretching and application mobility. You can have things live in either private cloud and public cloud. You won't need to change the IP address. So you can move and slip virtual machines in either cases. Furthermore, you've got the vRealize cloud management software as well. This is the piece that provides you with the cost optimization, monitoring, operational management, gaining visibility and insights to the capacity growth, security compliance, and all the rest of that. So yeah, it's interesting that the VMware HCI platform also provides you with hybrid interconnect service that allows you that simple, secure, scalable migration and mobility platform between data center and cloud. So with this, the hybrid cloud solution delivers that seamless integration across both sides. Okay. So some of the benefits is obviously with flexible options, caters for both VMs, Kubernetes, and in terms of like management, you can have opt to self-manage, so build your own platform like this and manage it yourself, or you can opt into as a service options as well. It's completely scalable. and efficient, and it's got intrinsic security built into this whole platform as well. Yeah, so as discussed earlier, DR as a service is another area that many customers are looking to invest in because they really want to avoid that kind of setting up a secondary data center and paying for another set of hardware and to manage and support another data center just for DR. So in this example, the solution is VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery, short for VCDR. The service works in a way where all you need to do is, well, it caters for many of the VMware on-prem customers. The way it works is you drop in a DR as a service connector appliance. So this is a virtual appliance you would install on-premise. That is responsible for replicating all the VMs that you want to protect to the public cloud. And it's stored in the cloud object store like S3 in this example for AWS. Therefore, the charges for the DR as a service is based on the protected capacity and the number of virtual machines that you are protecting. And that's a metered service as well. So utilizing the solution provides you with that DR protection needed. And the service is really on demand, is operationally air-gapped against ransomware. It's easy to use, similar to the SRM console with built-in reporting. And lastly, it's very cost-effective, and you're really utilizing that cloud cost and cloud economics for this bit that you don't really want to spin up. You don't really want to pay for the compute. Here, you're just paying for the storage and the license to use, really. So yeah, very cost-effective. The last one I'd talk about is about hybrid cloud backup as a service offering. So at Ultima, we've designed the service to meet a good range of RPOs and RTOs, and it covers that whole data protection for on-prem and the cloud. So many customers already have like on-premise physical servers and virtual machines on a number of different hypervisors like vSphere, Hyper-V, and Nutanix. Some may even have virtual machines in the public cloud. And like you said, many have Office 365, having data in Exchange Online, SharePoint, and OneDrive, for example. So Veeam Backup can help in this backup as a service that we've put together from having a backup server protect your on-premise physical servers and virtual machines as per usual. So we take the backup to backup infrastructure. This can also be replicated offsite to an island secure backup facility. Yeah. So this enables you to have a very cost-effective offsite backup, so you can get rid of all the legacy tape, simplifies your management. Also, it helps you with your cloud part as well. So if you have VMs in the cloud, that can be backed up into this offsite facility in Ireland, as can the Office 365 data points as well. That can all be taken into Ireland. So yeah, in Ireland, the secure backup repository is offsite, it's air-gapped as well, and encrypted. So yeah, actually the solution provider doesn't have access to your data, it's merely stored there. So if in the event of any like data recovery needed, you can restore your data from Ireland, and in the case on premise, you can restore very quickly from the backup server as well. So Ultima has this end-to-end managed service for covering all these points to help our customers, complement their comprehensive backup strategy to meet both on-prem and cloud requirements. Okay. So all in all, it's comprehensive, it's simplified, and it's very cost-effective again, delivering that coverage for all your assets, delivered in as a service monthly charge. So how can Ultima help you start that journey? So at Ultima, we can offer free of charge assessments to review some of the services we've discussed today, such as private cloud, IS platforms, backup, and DR. All these can be offered as a service. So, if you're interested in that, get in contact. We can churn out, evaluate your environment and give you a simple proposal of what the indicative costings might look like for these services. For more comprehensive reviews, we had advisory services where we utilize our architects and consultants to really help you define your strategic vision. Or if you've got a set of known program of works, we can help you execute on that planning and delivery as well. And lastly, if there's anything that you want to have a deeper dive demo session on as well, we can help you test drive that and set up some separate sessions to showcase some of these technologies and services. And with that, I think I've come to an end now. Thank you for listening, and hope you have a great day. Thanks.